Dear friends, welcome to yet another episode of the Healing with Coherence podcast. My name is Michael. Those of you who have been listening to Healing with Coherence know me, we've met before. For those that might be listening for the first time to this podcast, I would like to share with you that this is a podcast dedicated to the transformation of healing and healing technology that has been taking place in the world today. I've been trying to speak to guests who have original and unique insights into different approaches of how one can take healing and self-care into one's own hands. As well to people who have been working with different modalities, with different technologies, with different approaches that help human beings feel better, achieve better well-being in their lives, and in general experience more happiness and joy in their lives without the need to feel any pain and discomfort coming from their bodies, from diseases, from any tensions. So basically the ability to free and enjoy life freely without any physical and health restrictions. My today's guest is not an exception to this rule. My today's guest is coming from Canada. His name is Tom Swales, and he is an expert in movement therapy. Tom Swales is a physiotherapist, he's a strength coach, and he's been working throughout all his professional career with professional athletes, but also with normal people like you and me, who have been just trying to move better, to move without any pain, to move without restrictions, and just enjoy life without restrictions and without any limitations when it comes to their movement. So I'm really curious to understand what are the strategies that Tom has been using in order to achieve that and to lead his clients to better health and achieving better performance in movement, in sports, in athleticism. And I will start with an area which is of specific interest for myself, and that's the nervous system and the science of neurology that I know Tom Swales is well versed in. And I would like to understand how Tom Swales have been leading his clients into understanding better how the nervous system as such works and how we can use it as a partner that we can intelligently collaborate and cooperate with, rather than something which is bringing us discomfort, pain, restrictions, and we've been too fast to grab the pink pill, the painkillers, and other medicine that actually suppresses the nervous system and makes us forget the indications that the nervous system has been bringing us to warn us that there is something we need to take care of. And I believe that from there we'll go also into other directions, because from my understanding of Tom's work and his strategies and approaches, he has a very wide understanding of how the human body works. Let me please welcome Tom Swales from Canada. Tom, hello, welcome to Healing with Coherence. Pleasure to have you here. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm excellent, Mikhail. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. I've been looking forward to connecting with you, and we already started talking, and there has been a lot of going on, and I had to interrupt and just say, hey, let's record it, because we've been already talking through the topic that I wanted to talk to you.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Tom, when I actually received kind of suggestions from you on what topics we can be talking about, there has been so much that I can see that we touch upon. So I was looking at on an angle that we can take this conversation from, and then go, maybe wider and touch on other points. And what I got interested by, one of the main topics was the nervous system. And basically neurology and how neurology and the nervous system can be managed in order to help us heal faster, heal better.
Yeah.
So that's where I want to start. And I wanted to start with a question. What, in your perception, is the main misconception today of people and society in general about the nervous system? What is your
I think
observation around that?
it's under the main observation on the nervous system is people don't appreciate its value. They don't understand that it's, people come in with pain and they don't realize this is a nerve problem. Like this can be a nerve compression issue. So we have mechanical, neurological stuff. But the nervous system's primary job is survival. When you distill down what the job of the nervous system is don't die. It's, avoid threat, avoid pain, look for comfort, look for safety. Okay, cool. Because that's how we evolved. That's how we stayed alive as a species. We're always looking for threats, which is why the news is amazing at what it does to keep our attention.
Yeah.
But when we start to see how the nervous system affects the physical being, how it affects digestion, how it affects our sleep, how it affects our mood, then we have a better understanding that, okay, if the nervous system can control me, how can I flip it so that it doesn't control me and I can take control of it? So nervous system is, once I've realized that everything is neuro, everything orthopedic wise is neuro until proven otherwise. It's either some top-down control issues, some center out problems. It might be nerve compression, because if you're having pain, well, what is transmitting the pain? It's nerves. Okay, well, where's the pain being interpreted? It's the brain. Okay, so once we start realizing that pain doesn't occur at the elbow, it's being received at the elbow. The signal at the elbow is strong enough to make the nervous system pay attention. Mm-hmm. Now we have to start figuring out, well, why is that there? Why is that there in the first place? Oh, well, it's a tennis elbow, or it's a golfer. Yeah, but you don't play any of those. So the nervous system's the signal. It's saying, I need you to pay attention. Something is off. Not saying that it's wrong, but something is off in the system. So now we go into this high alert to pay attention to it. And then sometimes the signal gets amplified, because where we focus our attention is where we focus our energy. So now we start thinking about it. We start catastrophizing. Oh, what if this back pain is a disc herniation? What if it's a tumor? What if it's something more catastrophic? Well, now the nervous system starts to ramp up, and now it's taking control, and we're too far into that sympathetic range. People come in, they're in pain, so therefore they're in a sympathetic state. So we're going to branch off into the sympathetic and parasympathetic. Right? So sympathetic is your fight, flight, freeze, faint, and forget. I say forget because you can't learn anything in a sympathetic state. And then your parasympathetic is your rest, digest, recover, and remember. So we need to get people to shift into that parasympathetic state, but it's very difficult when they're in pain. So when we started looking at the body through the neurological lens, it starts to make more sense as to, okay, we have pain. The body is moving differently. It's creating compensations, because from a survival perspective, that's a good thing. But then over time, these compensations have now created these secondary injuries or secondary pain signals. And now the nervous system's like, well, I've got multiple signals. We still need to figure something out. But the cool thing with the nervous system is when we find that linchpin, when we find kind of the source of the problem and we start treating that source, the nervous system starts to be like, oh, I like that. It starts to relax. It starts to shift. The body starts to calm down. Things get a little more organized, more coordinated, and all of a sudden movement improves and pain goes down. Okay, cool. Well, now the nervous system said, oh, I like that. So let's keep going in that direction. It was our feedback loop. Mm-hmm. So from a neurological perspective, if we look at the nervous system as, okay, it's this very binary system of go, no go. Okay. When it feels threatened, it protects, it guards, it increases muscle tension, it reduces mobility. But now when we apply the right inputs, it reduces the tension, it increases coordination, increases motor output, reduces pain. So now it's that primary system that controls everything. And we can manipulate it just by simply applying the right inputs. And that's essentially what a lot of manual therapy, light therapy, ultrasound, it's applying energies to the body and their inputs, and the nervous system's like, ooh, I like this. Let's start to shift into that parasympathetic state. Let's start healing. Let's start reorganizing. Let's start recovering from this injury. So It's really, when I look at it, it's a feedback loop. And when we understand that nervous system and movement is a feedback loop, it guides our treatment, it guides our exercises, it guides what we need to do to optimize and move past the pain or the injury.
So what I'm hearing you saying is that the main misconception would be that people actually um, take the nervous system as a source of discomfort, something that actually
Yep.
makes me suffer. It stops me from
Yep.
doing what I want to do, what I love to do, and I have to get rid of it in some way, actually,
Right.
to make it shut up. So usually, I go for the pink pillow, not pillow, pill, for the pink
Yeah.
pill or something, which basically, suppresses the symptoms, or suppresses the impulses that I'm been
Yep.
receiving, and I'm good.
Suppresses the signals.
I can go. I
Yep.
can go now, right?
Yep.
But what you're saying is actually that the nervous system is actually, we can look at the nervous system as our ultimate partner in regulating our style of living, the way how we take care of ourselves, the way how we manage not the effort, but manage the way how we deal with our body and how
Yep.
we live, basically. So
Yep.
it is about learning how to cooperate intelligently,
Yep.
instead of trying to just cut it out and just go the usual way, until one day we cannot make another step ahead, right?
Yeah. The body's not stupid, right? Pain and those signals, the nervous system is protective, but it's also a guide, right? You move
Yeah.
into a certain range of motion. Ooh, that's uncomfortable. Okay, well, that's the nervous system saying, you know what, this doesn't feel quite safe. Let's not move into this painful zone. Let's either figure out, is this a problem? Or is this maybe an area of weakness? Or is this maybe the connective tissue just isn't ready for this type of load? So we just appreciate and respect that. We can hold, like we're going to use isometrics, for example. You're going into a squat. You're like, oh, my knees hurt that range. Is it ankle? Is it knee? Who knows? Maybe. Like there's lots of ways we can, or you stop shy of that, stay in that pain-free zone, allow the nervous system to develop strength in that 15 degrees above and below, and then squat out. Well, now maybe the next repetition, you can go lower. Okay. Well, now the nervous system just lets you go deeper into that squat because now it feels safe, because it was trying to protect you. If you blew past that painful zone, maybe there was tendon weakness. Maybe the joint wasn't ready to manage those loads. It hasn't adapted because you haven't moved there in a while. So using and understanding the nervous system as, well, it's protective because it's trying to protect you so you don't hurt yourself, but also it's a guide as to, is this appropriate? Yes or no. And once we figure that out, then we can kind of work our way around it and find solutions that the nervous system wants us to find, rather than just band-aid it with a pill, keep grinding through. And then all of a sudden, when the band-aid falls off, everything's flared up, everything's sore, now you've actually caused damage to the system and the signal gets stronger. And now we have chronic problems.
Yeah, you touched on a point that actually reminded me something. Actually, about stretching, and I was trying to recall the name of the man. He's this Russian American
Pavel Tsatsouline?
Tsatsouline, right?
Yeah.
And I haven't studied in depth actually his teachings, but I know I've been through a couple of articles of him about stretching, and basically the entire principle that he introduces is that the body actually can do all these lengths of stretching naturally. It is just the nervous system who protects us from going there, because we are afraid that we're gonna injure ourselves. So basically, he proposes, you go to a stretch pose, and you remain there stable for enough long time that actually you switched off the fear. I'm just interpreting with my words. The body forgets that actually it's fears, and that's how you go for it. So it is not really about stretching and stretching and stretching and pulling and pushing, but it's about learning to work with the nervous system and calm down the nervous system, right?
When it comes, so there's different components to mobility or flexibility. So a lot of the mobility issues that people incur, a lot of it's neurological, because you turn on the right muscles around the spine, and all of a sudden people can touch their toes. Their straight leg raise, their hamstrings feel less tight. Maybe it was neural tension. Maybe it was a lack of control at the spine and the pelvis. Maybe it was a neck compression issue. Who knows, right? At the end of the day, the nervous system said, I don't feel comfortable with moving this, so I'm just going to tell the muscles to tighten up and not let you do it. I tell my clients, muscles are dumb. They're only doing what the nervous system's telling to do. And oftentimes it's to protect, compensate, or brace something, right? Like it's trying to prevent possibly a more important structure underneath the muscle or innervated by the muscle or connected to the muscle, like a nerve. It might be trying to protect that. And the nervous system's like, yeah, this doesn't feel good. So once we understand why is the nervous system not letting go, and that we don't have any anatomical, pathology underneath that it might be protecting, then a lot of stretching issues or a lot of mobility issues can be neurological. But as we develop, we have different anatomy. Not everybody's going to be able to do the side splits because their hip sockets just might be too deep. You might have what's called a Celtic hip, where you have a very deep hip socket, and the acetabulum is going to bump into the head of the femur. So you will never be able to do the splits because your anatomy just won't let you go through that. So understanding, okay, when we look at someone's range of motion, what do those barriers feel like? Are they hard, jointy end feels? Probably never going to get to that, right? You can't force that. If you've got a shallow hip socket, like I have British and very Eastern European descent, Polish is my half background.
Okay.
We have good mobility because the hips, the Eastern European babies have a higher predisposition to hip dysplasia because the sockets are shallow. Now you don't get as much stability and control, but you get really good flexibility. So you can do splits. I can do the splits side and front. But if I had a deeper hip socket, if I had a different anatomy, that would never happen. And pushing the splits is going to cause more harm than good. So there is a big neurological component to people's ability to move, but anatomy will override it, or the biology can override that just simply because of physical barriers.
Yeah,
so understanding everyone's unique anatomy is also very helpful to unlocking flexibility or mobility, because we don't want to force things if biology is just like you physically can't go here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And like the side splits and what is the other one? That's the front split. How do you call that?
Front splits,
right?
Yep.
I mean, they are nice for gymnasts and professional and like competitive gymnasts. And I saw on your Instagram that did you do gymnastics in you before? I saw
I picked it up as
there.
Oh, I picked it up as an adult.
Oh, okay.
I started. I would as a kid, I would watch gymnastics and I would experiment, and I would just I remember watching gymnastics as a kid. 9 years old, watching the men's routine, and they run across the floor, they round off, and I went into the backyard and I was able to break it down enough in my head that I was able to do 6 back handsprings across my yard.
Okay.
So, and then I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And I wanted to be a ninja, and I watched all the Van Damme movies. So I taught myself how to do the splits, right?
Nice.
Yeah. So I understood enough in my head to kind of break that down, but I never had any formal training. And as I progressed,
my thought was that I have some. I used to do. I did in my youth sports acrobatics. So I did a lot of ground routine, which is part of the sports acrobatics. So my thought was that the front split, the side split, and specialized gymnastics exercises, they are good for performance, for competing, but for the normal athlete, this is absolutely unnecessary. So I'm moving a lot. I'm doing a lot of stuff, and I'm as well training and coaching people, and I'm not leading them towards extreme flexibility. Just flexibility which allows you to be mobile and flexible in your life, and don't get injured when you got to some funny poses. If you fell down or fall down or something like that. So
it's looking at. It's looking at their goals. Like, why is it important for you to do front splits? Are you a gymnast? Are you a dancer? Okay, that's important, right? That's the context. If you just want to not hurt yourself and tweak a hamstring to, play your flag football or soccer on the weekend, I'm like, well, maybe we just do some kettlebell swings to build up endurance and control. We make sure we have at least an 80-degree straight leg raise so that you have sufficient range of motion to drive your hips for a sprint. Like having some fundamental baselines are good, but it's sometimes people look at these end goals of extreme. Oh, that looks so cool. Okay, cool. That's a lot of work to get there. And what is that going to provide you value-wise in your athletic endeavors? Is it just a goal you want to hit? Or do you feel like it's going to provide you some greater overall athleticism and longevity? I don't
Yeah,
know, because the closer you move to high performance, the further you get away from longevity,
true.
right? You work with it. These extreme athletes, they're pushing their body. They are performing at the highest level they can. Doesn't mean they're healthy. They're always on the brink of injury because they're pushing the limits. So it depends on what the individual and what's important to them and what meaningful change are we trying to create in their lives.
Exactly, exactly. Well, this podcast, Healing with Coherence, is rather about living healthy, about longevity, and about actually taking responsibility for your own health. So, what we've been looking at and what we've been trying really is to inspire people to look for ways and strategies how they can take better care of their health and how they can live, like have a better well-being. Basically, it's
Yeah.
not about performance, but performance is part of it, of course, like performance on your own level, just to be happy with what you do, just that movement and your life makes you feel good about yourself. That's the main thing. Tom, you mentioned something. I'll go back to it. You mentioned about painful elbow, and
Mhm.
basically, like different ways how to look at it. And I have a very good comparison of. I consider myself, I've been doing sports all my life, and I have learned to listen to my body and also to not get panicking when there is some discomfort in the body, right? So basically, okay, I've been having now a painful elbow for I
Yep.
don't know more than half a year probably, and I'm
Yep.
I'm I'm doing, as I said, I'm doing a lot of different movement, and I know, from experience, because I've had other parts of my body hurting for quite a long time, that there usually is a process of adaptation, let's say, to new kind of new load of
Mhm.
new movements. There
Yep.
might be some strain to some parts, to some ligaments, which are there, which basically is just a process of adaptation. So
Mhm.
I don't panic, basically. Whenever
Yep.
my, I don't know, elbow starts to hurt, I don't go to a doctor and I don't request
Mhm.
a scan and surgery and so on.
Yep.
And then on the other side, I just recently met a friend of mine who told me that he had a painful elbow, and eventually they recommended him a surgery, and they made him a surgery, and he was laughing that actually they opened his elbow and they discovered that actually the elbow is completely healthy, and that the problem has been in the wrist or something like that. So
Probably the nerve in the neck.
something absolutely, I
Yeah.
mean, just and he
Something
was
else.
laughing, why, and I didn't know if I have to laugh or cry.
Yeah. Well,
But how you can lead people towards basically relaxing into
mm,
actually feeling some pain and giving time and not necessarily interrupting their practice for
yeah.
half a year until actually the pain is gone,
Yeah.
but they can continue practicing and at the same time monitor the pain, work with it. What would be your strategy around that?
It's understanding one, it's understanding that 90, and I'm going to be more brash on this the longer I've been doing this. 90, I'm going to say 95%, almost 99% of where the pain is not the problem. It's someplace else. Again, it's the signal. It's the area of energy accumulation. So when we're looking at the body, we're a three-dimensional being working in the three-dimensional world, and the laws of physics apply to us. They don't change. So when we look at a neck, and if it's not rotating to one side very effectively, well, that can cause a problem because now I need to put that rotation someplace else. So I might not need to rotate into my lower back. Well, that's not designed to rotate. If I have an elbow that doesn't pronate, or a shoulder that doesn't internally rotate, or a wrist that doesn't extend, or a wrist that doesn't flex, guess what I might be doing more at that elbow? All that energy is moving into the elbow because it's that intermediate joint between the hand, wrist, shoulder, thorax. So if there's problems here or problems here, well, the middle child starts screaming at you because you're not paying attention to it. But that's simple physics tells us energy moves to the area of least resistance. If the elbow's moving really well and you can feel the muscles in the elbow, guess what your brain's going to do? Well, I know this moves and I can feel the muscles. I'm just going to use that more. But we ignore the other parts that are tight because there's no pain there. We just transmitted all those forces, all that energy into an elbow, but it's not the elbow's fault. Is it a nerve tension issue? Right? Most tennis elbows that I see, I'm like, you don't play tennis. You sit at a computer. So you're stuck like this. I'm like, okay, well, what's the opposite of this? It's extend the elbows. Can you supinate? Can you extend the shoulders? They can't do it. So to sort out a lot of elbow issues, I just need to get people to move in the positions they haven't moved in a long time and start doing some active range of motion. Maybe it's most of the time the lateral elbow, the tennis elbow is a weakness issue because people are flexed and working like this all day. The extensors and the supinator are getting overworked. And what gets tight? Everything on this side. So we actually have to stretch the front and we strengthen the back, not the other way around. And everybody's like, oh, I got tight muscles. Got to stretch that elbow.
Okay.
I'm like, that's the last thing you need to do because it's weak. And then you go and test the muscles and they're weak. And the tendons, they do have a tendonitis sometimes. We need to do isometrics to bring tension back, but we need to stretch this side. Maybe we need to treat a shoulder. Maybe we need to go at the neck, right? Your friend who had the elbow pain, I bet you he had some nerve tension issues or some kind of nerve compression at the neck, not enough to send numbness and tingling, but enough to create some kind of fatigue at the elbow that caused an overuse problem. I see this all the time. And people are like, and when I screen people, I'm like, okay, yes, I know you have an elbow pain, but I need to see what your neck is doing. If it can't extend and it can't flex, I'm like, I need to treat the neck. If we have nerve tension, I need to treat the nerves. If I have a shoulder problem, I need to treat the shoulder. Because again, we've created these compensations and we've forced movement and energy into that area, which is typically the overuse problem, but it's the misuse problem. So it's coming back to, do you have a baseline of fundamental movement? And in the upper extremity, can you extend the wrists to at least 80 to 90 degrees? Can you flex it 80, 90 degrees? Can you pronate? Can you supinate 90 degrees? Cool. Now, can you do the elbow extender? Oh, that all changed. We have a soft tissue problem in the fascial lines. Maybe it's a nerve tension issue, right? So that's why we kind of organize when we assess, we look from the top down, center out, because that's how we developed. We, in the womb, in the embryo, we're just these layers of tubes. And if you kink the tube on one end, or if one side of the body isn't moving like it's supposed to, maybe we're compensating to other parts that are moving well.
Okay.
So even somebody who can't touch their toes, I need to know, because I need to know if that's a nerve problem, because they might have a central nerve problem that's pulling on the periphery.
I see. What would you? Of course, I'm not there with you. You cannot examine me properly. But what would be, because my pain in that friends of mine, I think it was something like a tennis elbow. I don't know exactly, but my pain is somewhere here. It's in the inside, right?
Kind of like a golfer's elbow. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Somewhere. What it could be from the point of view that you were explaining in terms of the connection with other muscles. So
very simply, as we sit here, if you take your arm out to the side, okay, like you're holding a plate, turn the palm out the other way, turn it out like this, like you're holding. There you go.
Okay. Right.
Nice tall spine. If we extend the arm, the elbow with the wrist extended, are you getting any nervy, tingly, pulley sensations into the arm? Any tingles into the hand?
Not sure.
Okay. Now side bend your head away. What does that do?
Here, I have it right here.
So we just put tension from fingertips to neck, and as soon as we brought the neck in, you're starting to feel something there. Well, the nervous system knows that that's there. So there could be some nerve compression issues, right? If your neck doesn't rotate very well, you might be creating compensations at the shoulder. You might be, the nerves might shorten a little bit. They might be not sliding like they're supposed to.
Okay.
Right. The other one we can do is, can you get your hand up like this? So we're now we're going after the ulnar nerve, which runs, right? That's the funny bone nerve there.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that causing any discomfort in the arm? Any tingles?
Not this one.
Okay, so that's pretty good, right? So at least we've cleared out that. But looking at how you did this, you're doing all this kind of rotation stuff away. You're changing your posture, your position.
Okay.
Right. If you did this up against the wall, if you did this up against the wall to kind of prevent you, you might find something in there. Right. And then we simply just do some nerve flossing and then see if that takes care of some of the elbow pain. Right.
Okay.
For you, Can you pronate and can you supinate? Like my elbows, they get a little sticky. My left one I had damage to that, so I don't supinate. So I have to work on that, right? And it's making sure that you're not doing it at the shoulders. Okay, so it's like lock the shoulders in. Can you supinate the elbows? Can you
Yeah.
pronate? Right? Yes or no? Okay, and if you can do
Yes.
that, great. So
There is some tension here
yep,
when I do that. Yeah.
yep. So for you, if you've got good mobility without resistance, then I'm going to say you might have a strength imbalance problem. You might be
Mhm.
weaker on this side of your elbow. So
Okay.
doing some dowel work like into supination, well, that's just going to create balance at the elbow. So now this muscle doesn't have to work as hard and it's got some help from there. Maybe if you're doing a lot of gripping, like rock climbers, they need to do some finger extensions. So you put a little band on the fingers.
I do a lot of gripping. Yeah, I do a lot of
Yep.
gripping. Actually, I do a lot of. I work with Bulgarian back quite a lot, so
Yep.
there is a lot of grip strength necessary.
So
And I also thought about the like the neck on the left on the neck.
Yep.
I on the left trapeze actually.
Yep.
There is always there tends to form a ball
Yep.
in the muscle, and it's been like a long term issue. So I thought
Yep.
about when you were connecting, and saying that it could be coming from here. There could
Yep.
be a connection to that as well. Yeah.
For sure. And remember, muscles are dumb, right? They only do what the nervous system tells them to do. So if you have maybe a serratus anterior that's not helped the scapula to upward rotate, maybe you're using upper trap to compress. So I have a very fancy piece of equipment that you can't really find anywhere. This could be your solution.
Okay.
Right? So you do a lot of gripping like this.
Yeah.
Okay? So we're using this side, but what are we stretching all day long? That side.
Okay. Yeah.
So now we do this open grip. Okay.
Right.
I hold it. I do some rotations. I do some isometrics. I go overhead. I do some rotations. I go over here. Because how do we use grip? We don't do this repetitively. We grip something and we push and pull. Right. We move the shoulder. So let's just do the opposite. So I'm going to do some rotations up here. I'm going to do some rotations back behind me.
Okay.
And then I'm going to check to see, oh, that doesn't hurt as much anymore.
All right.
Simply because we woke up the muscles on this side. Now the nervous system's like, oh, I don't need to use this too much because I've got support from my partner on the opposite side of the joint.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I had what I wanted to get as a response. So thank you very much. I'm going to
we're done
now. I need to go to try to work out. No, Tom, that's great. Thank you. That's awesome. And by the way, you reminded me another thing because I have a physiotherapist, which I'm seeing once per like 3, 4, 5 years probably.
Yeah.
And usually when I have some like long-term pain that somehow prevents me from doing my practice properly.
Yep.
And the good thing is that that's what I told him the last time when I saw him. I told him, listen, and he's Thomas, by the way. So Tom as well.
He's got to be good. He's got to be good then.
He's good. And I told him, listen, what is interesting is that whenever I come to you with a problem, you never actually even touch me. He only tells me exactly about the connections in the system and how to fix my posture and what movements to do in order to fix that. He always fixed me. I mean, I had like 2 or 3 serious problems that were preventing me, and I would go there and he would spend a couple of sessions with me, just actually fixing my posture, and this would be all. And I told him, listen, you're not even touching me and you're healing me. And he was like, okay, well, maybe I can do you some massage, to earn my money. I said, no, that's not my point. My point is that I'm just amazed of how these connections, in the body work.
But, that comes back to, we are dynamic beings. Manual therapy feels great. Needles feel awesome. It changes the inputs really quickly, right? So now it calms down the nervous system. It calms down the body. It took away tension from the area of discomfort. But the key thing is, if I don't apply some movement or some proper strategies on top of that, guess what? It comes back, right? 48 hours, you're like, tightened up again, right? I got my cracks and I felt good getting off the table. And then I started moving like I was. Well, of course, like your body hasn't learned anything new. It hasn't learned to move differently. It hasn't learned to use other muscles. So guess what? Defaults back to what it knows, which is just survival because it's energy efficient. So the key thing is manual therapy is a quick reset. I call them resets. I call them inputs. to kind of remove barriers in the body to get the nervous system to calm down. But I need to apply proper movement and exercise strategies on top of that to make sure it doesn't come back, because it will come back. And this is why clients will go like, yeah, I've been seeing this therapist for a couple of years, and they can't seem to figure out my elbow. I'm like, well, what are they doing? They're like, oh, they're doing shockwave and laser and manual therapy and needles. I'm like, okay, that's all cool. Any exercises? Well, they have me doing some stretches. I'm like, oh, good Lord. Like, you haven't learned how to reload the shoulder, how to reach overhead, how to push, pull, carry things. So yeah, it's going to come back, because they also are just treating the local area, but they haven't looked at the entire system as to, well, are they moving proficiently? Like, are you using the right strategies, or you're just defaulting back into that elbow and over gripping everything because we missed everything else that integrates with the elbow, which is why we have to take a step back from the trees to see the forest, see how the body's moving as a system, be like, well, that doesn't look right, but we're going to come back to that later. And then start to, establish a fundamental baseline of movement proficiency and symmetry, because the body doesn't do well with asymmetry. When we rotate one way and we don't rotate the other way, well, that appears in gait. Now, if I keep rotating really well to the right every time I stand, well, I'm going to compress the joints and the nerves, everything on that right side of my body. I'm going to hit the ground a little harder. And then people are like, wow, my right knee hurts and my right low back. I'm like, because you don't rotate to the left. You can't stand on the left leg, right? That's a problem. We need to reestablish those forces to move symmetrically so that you're not overloading that one side of your body. So this is the part that frustrates me. And this is why I created the AMT certification. I'm like, we can do better as clinicians, but we need to stop, focusing so much on the pain area, the diagnosis. We're really good at that, which is the what, but we forget to find out the why. Find the why. Why did that happen? Right? How many injuries come in? You're like, yeah, this pain came out of nowhere. I'm like, it didn't come out of nowhere. It was slowly building over time. You weren't aware of it. You weren't aware of the things you were doing, but you also weren't aware that your body is now out of balance, and those forces now accumulate into that part that's now creating the signal for you to pay attention.
All right. Well, you mentioned your certification program, and I would use the opportunity, of course, because we might have listeners here who don't know what it is exactly. Can you say a few words? What is your certification program?
Yeah. So the Advanced Movement Therapist certification is kind of a distillation, and it's a framework of what we do as clinicians, what we do as coaches, what we do as bodywork practitioners, what we do as movement experts. And over my 20-year career, I've done everything from acupuncture, manual therapy, manipulation, Russian kettlebell certification with Pavel, gymnastics, like Movnat, like all these movement based and all these different systems, and they all provided great solutions to specific problems. And the more I started doing, I'm like, well, when I use these high performance things, they're actually very restorative from a rehab movement perspective. But then when I look at the neuro rehab stuff, I'm like, oh, I can use this for high performance. So there's a blend. And I distilled down kind of the fundamental principles of all of these systems to the human being on how to understand what we do, why we do it, and how we do it better. And we've created an algorithm. It's, from the entire patient experience of, okay, I'm going to come, we're going to have a conversation. I need to find out who you are. We're going to have a patient history. We're going to look at movement. We're going to look at the parts. We're going to, apply some inputs. We're going to measure our effectiveness through movement and muscle testing again, and then teach people about their chemistry, nutrition, sleep habits, all that stuff. So essentially it's a framework built on principles, and it's organized into a system or an algorithm in which you can kind of move quickly and effectively through the body. It's everything we've done in physio school, right? Physio school gives us all the information, but they don't tell us how to apply it very well. It's not organized. So what I feel I've done, especially in the level 1, is organize the entire assessment. And then in level 2, we look at the nervous system more in depth, visual, vestibular, how to use kettlebells, how to use body weight, gymnastics, ballistics, running, ground movements, and all that flow. So for new grads, it's something to start their practice on, the kind of like the first course to build their framework. And then for senior clinicians who have been doing it all and have done it all, it helps organize our tools so that we can plug them in and organize them a little bit more effectively so we know when to deploy them. Because again, as a new grad, disorganized, didn't have tools and effectiveness. And then as a senior clinician, I'm like, I don't know what to use anymore because I have all these tools, but I don't know which ones. So it really helped organize my personal practice. And now it's helped just over 1,000 clinicians and coaches to kind of really streamline their practice so they get to the kind of the root cause as opposed to just chasing symptoms.
Okay. Well, that sounds really nice. So for how long have you been running that program?
So we started this back in 2017. It's been refined since then. It went from a 200-page manual, level 1 and 2, to 550-page manual, and it's all video recorded. So it's instant access. It's all pre-recorded. It's all moduled. There's an exam at the end. And then what we're looking to do, come into the fall, we're going to start doing live coaching sessions so that people can start to ask questions to really integrate what they're learning online into a live classroom environment.
Okay. Well, at the beginning, I don't know if we were recording, maybe before that, you mentioned that there are all these additional modalities, complementary modalities, like you mentioned red light therapy and other, and all stuff that is around this modern area of biohacking today has its role as well. But actually the basics are elsewhere. My understanding is you first need to learn how to work with your body, to understand your body, and then actually apply all these. So what is your, can you repeat that for myself and for the listeners now? What is the connection, and where you see the role of these modalities that people tend to use today?
So the biohacking world is very sexy. It's got all these cool gadgets and molecules and supplements to kind of, optimize our performance, optimize longevity. But that's like the last 10 to 20%. Really what we need to do, and the same thing with rehab and performance, it's an 80-20 principle. When we get the fundamentals, when we get the basics down and we start to master those, then all the little cool nuance things, they help with the last 20%. So when it comes to health and longevity, I ask my clients, what's your sleep like? If you're not getting 7 to 9 hours or 5 sleep cycles, or you're not waking up with quality, I'm like, we need to dial in your sleep, because that's where all the healing and recovery comes from. That's where the anabolics come from. That's where your brain does its cleaning and your cognitive performance gets enhanced. If we can't get sleep dialed in, then it doesn't matter what exercises or supplements we do. It won't make a difference, right? Are you moving enough? Are you getting light? Are you going out for walks? Are you getting out in nature? Are you breathing effectively, right? People come in and they're breathing like this. I'm like, we need to calm the breathing. You're really blowing off too much carbon dioxide, and now you're fatiguing out. So your blood gases and your chemistry are all out of whack, which is then going to affect your nervous system. It's going to push you into that fight or flight all day long. Can't recover there because cortisol is too high. So getting the fundamentals down and doing those, then all the cool stuff on the back end work better, right? It's going to get us that last 10 to 20%. But I think people are looking for quick fixes. But it's really, we need to look at behavior and environment first before we start looking at modalities and supplements, because that's really what they are. It's supposed to supplement our good eating habits. If our nutrition is crap, well, there's no point in taking vitamins, because you can't supplement your way to good health. You have to be eating whole foods first and then supplement for some of the deficiencies that might be occurring. It's the same thing, going out and lifting heavy weights for an hour. Well, maybe you just need to do a couple walks or just do some calisthenics, like for 10, 15 minutes, a few times a day. It's a much easier entry rather than, get my bag, get in the car, drive to the gym, warm up, lift the weights. Well, now you just took 2 hours out of your day, when maybe you just needed 2 to 3 10-minute little workouts in 30 minutes at home, right? So it's taking care of those fundamentals and then looking at what are your end goals. If your end goal is to run a marathon, okay, obviously that's a different goal than just longevity, right? Yeah. Just feeling healthy, looking healthy, and moving around in this world freely without pain. So it depends on what the person's goals are, but also it's just dialing those fundamental principles and get in love with the basics again, because that's really all most of us need.
Well, my feeling as well is that what my experience is, there are so many little things that one can do, and basically, usually people, when you tell them, I've been doing this and that, for example, um, I don't know, like, okay, well, taking supplements, or okay, I started taking ice baths for 4 years now. I've been sticking my mouth, for the
Lip
night.
taping for sleeping. Yep.
Taping and so forth. And usually, I mean, you don't have like immediate results with something, So
No.
basically, I tape my mouth. Okay, I don't know. I'm not sure what has been the immediate effect, but I got used to it. I've been doing it for two
Sure.
years now,
Yeah.
and I feel like discomfort when I don't have my mouth taped, for
Yeah.
the night. But what I'm seeing is that because I continuously do this stuff, and
Yeah.
I continue introducing different things and experimenting with different things in my life, for my health, and I see in general that I'm doing well. I mean, I have a good
Mhm.
well-being. I'm
Yeah.
looking after myself, and basically, I'm not getting sick, or when I get sick, I recover quickly. I'm 51, and I just feel like when I was 18, like in my
Totally.
in my performance and trainings and everything. And my answer to everyone who would basically be questioning any of those things that I do, it is not that I'm taping my mouth, or it's not that I'm taking ice baths. It is all this stuff. Yesterday, actually, I for first time I went to try the red googles
Yep.
for the evening. It's something that I've been kind of refusing, feeling it's not necessary. I slept really well. I
Yes.
slept really well. I slept. I had a deep, deep sleep, and I just felt that it had the impact. I
Yep.
just really feel that it had the impact.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I'm like, so do you use any wearables to measure like sleep track, an Aura ring
No,
or
I don't do
yeah.
that. I don't. I
Okay,
don't. I don't. Yeah.
and that's fine because some people get neurotic about it. I have an
Yeah.
Aura ring. I like the data, but I don't always, I'm not, it's not gospel, right? My Aura ring says, oh, you had a 65% sleep because that. I'm like, yeah, but I feel pretty good. I'm like, I'm still going to work out today. The ring says, well, you need to take it easy. I'm like, I'm going to pay attention to my body. And if I have a great workout, or maybe halfway through the workout, I start to gas out, I'm like, I'm going to listen to that. I'm not going to push it. Right. So if something's working, then do it. Like it's like people doing certain exercise, CrossFit or Orange Theory or calisthenics, whatever it is. I'm like, do you feel good? Are you sleeping well? Are you in pain? No, great. Then keep doing it. But when it stops working or you're having problems, now we have to start examining: do we need to do something different? Because I'm very much on the boat of, if something's working and you're achieving your goals, who cares, right? If wearing a pair of glasses psychologically gave you a better sleep, who cares, right?
Absolutely.
It cost you $50. Like that's the worst it's not going to do any harm. If you're taking a supplement that, has no side effects, and the worst like that's going to happen is a nil effect. I'm like, well, take it, see how your sleep is. If you feel like you're consistently getting good sleep from it, it's probably doing something, right? To try, and again, everyone's different. It's like their anatomy. Everyone responds to different inputs differently. Everyone's DNA, everyone's genetics are different. It depends on the individual. And if you find something that works, great, go for it. If it doesn't, stop wasting your time and money. So I always tell people, do what works. And if it stops working, do something different. Just don't force square pegs into round holes and expect it to keep working. Because if you're doing the same thing over and over, what is that? And expecting a different outcome, it's insane.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Mr. Einstein has said that many years ago, right?
Yeah.
Well, Tom, I also wanted to touch on, you mentioned Gary Lineam,
Mm.
and basically Gary Lineam is all about fascia, and the
Yep.
new outlook on fascia, and
Yep.
how do you look on fascia, and all the new understanding of fascia that has been now introduced, and how do you kind of fancy that as well? Do you
Oh yeah.
work with fascia? How you look on fascia? Are you
We
fascinated with fascia?
It's impossible not to work with fascia. I mean, you touch the skin, you're touching fascia, right? And understanding that the fascia is this kind of liquid crystal matrix throughout the body, and it works like you said, like a crystal. You compress it, you stretch it, creates a piezoelectric pulse. Okay, it creates electricity. Those signals go up to the brain, right? Fascia is probably the primary reason why we're able to stand upright, why our intestines don't fall into our stomach with gravity, because it's a sling system, right? And it runs several layers deep. So when we look at fascia and how we move, it's always a pulling system, right? It's that tensegrity model. Like you
Yeah.
create tension here, it creates compression over here. We need that. When I lift my arm, or I stand on one leg, I need to be able to create tension on one side of the body, and I need to create mobility in the other to create movement. The fascial system, again, like when I was in physio school, it's just like, it's that tissue that you just cut. Oh, it's in the way. We got to get to the muscles and the organs, right? Because we did cadavers.
Useless.
But yeah, it's useless. Yeah, it's just, but it's everything. Like it's the thing that connects the muscles. It creates these kinetic chains. It allows us to produce force. Like as we get older, the collagen we produce less collagen, but we need collagen for the fascia and the tendons and the connective tissue to create that elasticity so that we can continue to propel ourselves, because muscles, they start to lose force output. We lose that spring as we get older. But we can build up the collagen, we can build up that connective tissue, and everything is collagen, everything's fascia. You look at the joints, well, it's just thicker bands of fascia. You look at the ligaments, they're just bands of fascia. Like it's all connected. So to say that, oh, well, the fascia system and this theory, I'm like, yeah, but how do we work as a system? Because we're not compartmentalized. Like this joint isn't just moving on its own. It's integrating. I have to be able to hold my body upright everywhere else in order to bend the elbow or throw the thing. But the fascial system is highly underrated. It's getting a lot more attention that it deserves. And once we start understanding it, then we have a better understanding of how we move, but also how we can move better.
Yeah, I'm actually really fascinated with fascia. That's why I ask you about it. And it's actually I've been just working with well, it is a theory for me, because I cannot prove it yet, but actually from all the information and data that I've been gathering when talking to people like you about fascia, and I mentioned my last guest before you, Matt Kenny from Denmark, who's been working as well a lot with fascia and basically understanding of the fascia as a piezo crystal
Matrix.
Thank you about it. Yeah, and actually, when I say we, I mean the people around the Healing with Coherence, because Healing with Coherence is a podcast, but it also represents a technology which is called comrade therapy. And comrade therapy is basically from the family of photobiomodulation modalities.
Okay.
And it's something that actually combines
therapy.
4 different modalities. It's low-level laser, ultrasound, magnetism, and color light.
Oh, nice.
And we've been working for a long time. Actually, it exists for 15 years, right? And we have scientists in the team who basically have a lot of knowledge around how the electromagnetic current of comrade therapy. The device is used actually to introduce comrade into the body. Is being distributed, but we've been working a lot with the idea of actually, first of all, the signal being distributed through the nervous system, because it's basically it is an electromagnetic informational current. Then as well through the intercommunication of the cells, of also obviously the receptors of the cells, who are handing over the signal from one cell to another, and then it goes through the whole body.
Cool.
But what started occurring to me, that actually it is very much the fascia which is the real highway of distributing the electromagnetic signals through the body. Which explains a lot of the theories and thinking around how comrade therapy works in the body, and how red light therapy works in the body, and how magnetic therapy works in the body. So I've been working on a concept around that basically, because I'm also practicing the fascial maneuvers from Gary Lineman and Human Garage.
When you start to look at so the fascia is like this double folded bag, right? And it's got liquid in there. Well, what's that liquid primarily? Water. So when you're using electromagnetic fields, when you're using light therapy, well, what's the composition of water? 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen.
Yeah.
So when you start to distill down what your perspective is on the physical body and the fascia, and you start to look at it at a molecular level, well, what is it happening to the molecules? And then you start to look at it at an atomic level. Well, these electrons and neutrons and positrons, are they spinning in a different way? Are they reacting in a different way? It's hard to quantum, but when you have that understanding, you can start to theorize down to a molecular atomic level of what, there's change happening here. I wonder if it's happening all the way down at this other level, at more of an atomic or quantum level. And then that helps better explain, some of the devices and why it's happening. Again, quantum is kind of newer, right? They're like, oh, we can now measure quantum energy. I'm like, well, traditional Chinese medicine has been using this for thousands of years. With acupuncture, they're intuitively in tune with it, and all the Ayurvedics and all the shaman, they're tuned in to higher consciousness. But now, because we can measure it with science, it's now real, right? It's not magic anymore.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. But that understanding of all those deeper principles, it makes it so much fun to theorize and also experiment with the body, because you're like, oh, it's not just the physical body anymore. Like we're stardust, and we're just a composition of all these atoms and molecules that are spinning in space. And then you look further down at the atomic level, we're 99.9999% empty space.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now we're in quantum physics, because we're just two physical beings running at a specific frequency that can be perceived in the 3-dimensional world with the receptors that we have. But essentially, we're just 99.99% empty space.
Well, I think that's a very good closure. maybe a good name for the episode as well. I'll think around that, but yeah, Tom, I think I really love to talk to people who are on the same wave, and I think like all my guests so far has been on the same wave. So wave.
Yeah, it's because we need to think outside the box, right? Because as physical body workers, you're like this. You can get stuck in this kind of methodology of the physical touch and this, that, and the other, but there has to be a better understanding and a better way to explain what's happening, because all of a sudden this magic happens, right? All of a sudden someone's pain goes away. You're like, I don't even know what I did. I did something, but I could have affected their psychology. Did I affect the chemistry? Did I affect, was it physics? Was it just a particular movement? I don't know. But if we have this better understanding or understanding of fundamental principles, again, we can explain what we do, why we do it, how we do it better, right? And that allows us to think outside the box.
Absolutely. Tom, thank you very much. It's been lovely discussion. I really enjoyed everything that you shared with me. It's pity that I'm not in Canada, because I was really actually come to your office and just let you check my elbow and
we'll have a quick look.
But I'll do the stuff that you
try that.
you taught me. Yeah, that's good. And
yep. I'm gonna have Evelyn send you a link to what the SAM scan, the self-awareness movement scan that I created for athletes, to get free access. Yeah. So you can start self-assessing yourself, applying different things, and then see how the body reorganizes, because it really works. I use this with my professional athletes, because they would come in and they're like, have 20, 30 different corrective exercises. I'm like, we are wasting our time here. Scan yourself, see what you need to do, fix those imbalances, get to work, right? Like, it's a 3-minute scan, but it guides you as to, oh, you know what, you can't rotate. Well, is it the hip, T-spine? Okay, let's go after these corrective exercises. Oh, it's a nerve mobility issue. Let's go after that. Now go rescan yourself. Oh, that cleared it up. Great. let's go deadlift, right? So it's a quick self-assessment. I took some basic movement assessments from the AMT, and I put it into a 3-minute scan. And then again, it guides you, all the exercises, or the scan guides you as to what you need to correct, or some of the basic exercises that fix a majority of the problems to go after the solutions.
Okay, is that something which is freely available somewhere on your sources?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So
anybody who's listening can
anybody
do
who's
that?
listening,
Okay,
for anybody
nice.
who's listening, go to amtcertified.ca and you can get access to the SAM scan there.
Okay, and
And
we'll enter that in the description of the podcast as well. So below the video it will be, so everybody can go and test that. I'm really looking forward to try that for myself as well.
Yeah, perfect. And then for clinicians and coaches, you get the AMT certification there as well. So there's lots of free resources: YouTube, Tommy Swales, Instagram, swales.tom. So lots of free stuff out there. Blogs, education. You can sort out a lot of your own stuff just with what you find. But if you want to dive deeper into it, the courses are there as well.
Lovely. I mean, we'll make sure to enter all that in the description so that there are accesses and links to all these resources.
Perfect.
Well, Tom Swales has been our guest today, everyone. Tom, thank you very much for being our guest.
Thanks for having me.
And everybody who's been listening, I hope that you've enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. And if you did so, please distribute the podcast, forward it to your friends, to your contacts. Put some likes and comments on YouTube and other social media networks. It will really help us grow our work. Thank you very much for your support. Tom, I'll see you soon again, I hope, maybe in Canada, in your office. And
or maybe my wife and I will come visit in Prague.
Absolutely. It will be absolutely great.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a good day, and everyone as well. See you soon. Bye-bye.